So the first benchmark I'd encourage you all to measure is this one. It's your billing capacity. It's a really easy one to measure and has the power to be really transformational. I've seen so many people measure this stat, and it's provided a catalyst for change within their agencies. So here's how to work that out. So first of all, if you take your day rate, now if you have multiple day rates for different people in your team, or even if just for yourself, you've got different rates for the different work that you do individually, you will need a spreadsheet for this. So, but you take your day rate or the multiple day rates and you multiply it by the number of people in your team. Now, again, if you have, if different members of your team do different amounts of chargeable time, so someone's only 50% chargeable because they do other work in their business, then again, you put 0.5 there instead of 1. Just a point to make here, someone asked a great question on the Agency Collective Slack. They said, when calculating all of this, what about management time? Do you include that as chargeable time? And I said, well, it depends on what that person's managing. If they're managing the operations of the business, that isn't billable time. But if that person is managing a team of account managers or managing a team of designers or techies, then yes, that's chargeable to the client and ultimately needs to be accounted for. So take your day rate, times it by the number of people in your team, and then the number of days a month, or the number of chargeable days per month, again, spreadsheet time if you've got multiple tiers, and that will give you your billing capacity. And what that shows you is in a month where everything goes well, and you are at full capacity, what you should be billing. Now, the reality of the situation is things never go to plan and will never be at full capacity anyway, but I want you to get curious, really curious, because your billing capacity will be much bigger, much higher than what you billed last month and the month before and the month before that. And I want you to get curious about why there's that gap and where is that money going. And some stats just to guide you in this. Most agencies sit in terms of utilization rate, so the amount of time that their chargeable people spend doing client work, somewhere between 60 and 80%. So if you're that rate, in that range, you're there or thereabouts. Now, we're not robots. It's really hard to get to beyond 80%. I'm not sure you want to. I'm not sure you'd want to work in an agency that had a culture that had utilization rates beyond 80, because there's not loads of room for creativity and fun in there. But certainly 70 to 80% is a really good place for agencies to be for utilization rates. Now, even at those rates, where does that leave you in terms of your capacity? Is there still a gap? And if there is, where's that money going? I remember sharing this piece of information or a version of this at an event a couple of years ago. And about 6 weeks later, someone emailed me back and just shared a lovely story. What he did, he said, look, I've always been curious about that gap and occasionally annoyed that it exists. And I kept telling my team in terms of hours, look, we're missing out on this many hours. But he said, I did something after that talk, which changed everything. He said, I converted the hours to money. And he said, I just ran a very simple spreadsheet, and there was a red number on one of the tabs on the spreadsheet, and I just printed off and put it on the wall. And that red number wasn't the number of hours, it was the amount of pounds. They times it by their daily rate, hourly rate, which was £100 an hour, and converted it to money. And they were a small agency. I think they had a team of 8. And I remember him saying, you know, one month, that figure was £8,000. And that was chunky. They thought, well, hang on a minute. Where's that £8,000 going? And then they got really, really curious. And it changed their perception around what was capacity. In their instance, they were spending £5,000 a month on freelancers. They suddenly thought, we don't need this. And they reduced £5,000 a month down to 500. The team decided to do this, by the way, simply by kind of being presented with these numbers and it's slapping them in the face. So what numbers could you perhaps share with your team to help them realize how they're actually performing and what their true capacity is, and then get curious about that gap? Another place, so look, the obvious places that the gap will exist is people doing work for free. It's the biggest killer for agencies. Don't do work for free. The reason we do work for free is we think wrongly that it will result in stronger client relationships. Here's the thing, clients don't value stuff that's for free. We don't value stuff that's for free. And if we don't value our time, then how do we expect our client to value it? So if you do stuff for free, clients don't value it. I've seen so much research over the years. Some of it we conducted ourselves, some of it I've seen from other sources that bears this out, that there's a correlation between the amount of money that clients spend and their levels of happiness. So encourage your team to stop doing stuff for free. If they do stuff for free, here's the thing, everyone loses out. They lose out because they work longer hours. They're not around to help their teammates out, so their teammates are losing out. And ultimately, the business loses out because you're not making the profit. And if there's not the profit within the business, there's less opportunities for growth, less opportunities for development for every single person within that business. No one wins. We should stop doing work for free. The other area that you'll see profit leaking out of your business, it just creeps out, is in pitching. It's so easy, isn't it, to be seduced by a pitch? Oh, can I just borrow that designer? We'll just borrow that creative, we'll borrow that strategist just to put together this pitch. And obviously we need to do that to win work. I get that. But we definitely need to think very carefully about how much time and effort we put into our pitches and it being spent proportionally. A great thing to do, by the way, is you set budgets for everything else in your business, or hopefully you do. Set a budget for pitch time. How much time from your studio each month is available for pitches? And that will force you to think very carefully, because it is a finite resource, about how you use it and whether this is actually worth doing, which will lead you on to then a conversation internally around, well, how do you qualify a pitch? And what questions do we need to ask? And how do we get that information to determine whether we've got a terrific chance or whether we're one of 15 names and there's an incumbent and we're going to come second again. And if you've come second, after a long pitch process, you'll know that is not fun and it's also expensive. So go on that journey, work out your billing capacity and see where it takes you. Get curious, because it's the start of a really exciting and positive journey for you.